Sports. We are Baltimore. We are Detroit.
Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Bell Tire. As the Tigers begin a three-game series here in New York, Miguel Cabrera has made the new Yankee Stadium his personal playground. He hits .371 career in this ballpark as we bring you to the Bronx tonight. Welcome to Yankee Stadium. It is game one of this three-game series featuring the Tigers and the New York Yankees. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Peppa alongside Rod Allen. Glad to have you with us here for game one of the series. Tigers Roadshow moves to New York, and it does so with the new guy in the lineup. It's a face that we were waiting for, Rod, to return to the Tigers lineup as Victor Martinez.
Oh, there's no doubt that Miguel Cabrera kind of missed Victor Martinez, anchored in that fourth spot right behind him. Victor went down for a rehab assignment, 4 games. He's back. I hope he's ready to go.
All right, well, we certainly know that one guy will be ready to go, and that is Justin Verlander, making his 300th career start in this game tonight against the New York Yankees, and hopefully he'll be pretty good this evening.
Have a feeling he didn't mind at all when that game got rained out in Cincinnati last night. He's a big moment guy. This is a big stage. Verlander loves the big stage. He threw 97 in that last outing. He threw some good curveballs, good changeups. He's ready to roll as well.
All right, 300th start for JV, 3,000th hit maybe for Alex Rodriguez. He's going for that tonight.
I hate to say it, but I think he's going to get it tonight. He's a big moment guy as well. 3,000 hits. He's kind of owned Justin Verlander in the past. Hopefully Justin's up for the task, and they can kind of slow A-Rod down for a few more days, and he doesn't get it against the Tigers this weekend.
All right, after a short break, we'll send you back to the Call Sam Studios. Check in with John Keating. Should be fun this weekend. The Tigers and Yanks coming up. We're in New York. All the stars are out. Miggy, V-Mart, A-Rod, and JV. We're glad you're with us, too. Tigers, Yanks, next. expectations of what a bank could be when it's time. Coming to Comerica by Chrysler. Come discover great deals during the Chrysler Drive and Discover event. And by Country Fresh Milk. Get real. Back here at Yankee Stadium on a gorgeous night for baseball here in the Bronx. The field conditions tonight are presented by Ace Hardware and the Scotts Company. It is 81 degrees at game time tonight. Not a whole lot of humidity, so it's very pleasant here at the ballpark. We've got some clouds in the area, but hopefully no rain. And the Tigers getting set to take on the New York Yankees. Anthony Gose will be starting things off for the Tigers tonight. And here is the starting lineup for the Detroiters, brought to you by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. Gose leads it off in center, followed by Kinsler at second base, Cabrera's at first, Victor Martinez back in the lineup, first time since May 18th. Cespedes and J.D. will follow, and then Castellanos, Holiday, and Iglesias to round it out, and they are facing the right-handed offerings of Adam Warren.
And Warren features a high three-quarter arm slot. He's got a power arm. Fastball gets up to 97 miles an hour. He will try to overpower a lot of the Tigers' right-handed batters with fastballs and sliders. He will use curveballs and changeups to the left-handers.
So the 27-year-old out of Birmingham, Alabama, goes to work. And we are ready for baseball tonight. Gose stands in. Anthony slices the first pitch into left field, a base hit. Gose wasting little time is aboard to start things off. We'll bring up the number 2 hitter, Ian Kinsler. Tigers rained out last night in Cincinnati, so the trip continues in the Bronx here tonight. They dropped the only game they played against the Reds. Kinsler at 271 has knocked in 26 this year. And he sits safely in 10 of his last 12 ball games. A little bit of a breeze here at the ballpark tonight. Not much, though.
Anthony Gose already with 11 steals this year. He's been caught 5 times.
Kinsler looks at a strike 0-1.
A real nice breaking ball thrown there by Warren.
Warren has allowed 3 or fewer runs in each of his last 7 consecutive starts.
And he pitches his best baseball right here at Yankee Stadium.
That is ripped to left field, but foul. No balls, 2 strikes on Ian Kinsler. And the Tigers get the added depth tonight of Victor Martinez rejoining the lineup. That has made them so much deeper. And we'll see what they have in store for Warren this evening. Gose has been caught 5 times with his 11 swipes. And he got him strike 3. Kinsler caught looking, 1 gone.
It's a front door breaking ball. It's a slider that Ian Kinsler thought was going to be inside, but the natural action on the pitch allowed it to catch the inside corner.
So with 1 out, here is Miguel Cabrera standing in. And Miggy right now is 6-game hitting streak. He's also gone 6 straight games with at least 1 RBI. Gose draws the throw. Warren has pitched against the Tigers this year. That was back in April at Comerica. It ended up being a 13-4 win for the Yankees, and Warren got the victory, going 5 2/3. Cabrera fouls it straight back. And while the Tigers got to him a little bit, they scored 4 runs against him in 5 2/3. And they had 4 walks as well. Just underway here as Cabrera stands in with 1 on, 1 out. His 51 RBIs this year leads the American League. Here's the 0-1. How about these numbers, Rod, when you talk about what Miguel Cabrera has done in the Bronx?
He likes the biggest stage and the brightest lights. He has absolutely showed out here in the Bronx. In 92 games, a batting average that's close to 400. He's left the building 12 times and he's driven in 28. How about the OPS? Over 1,300.
These numbers include the new and the old Yankee Stadium. Swing and a miss.
Good pitch there by Warren after a couple of fastballs inside to Miguel, aggressively inside at 91 and 92 miles an hour. He throws that nice slide piece down and away, and Mickey was cheating ever so slightly for another fastball in.
1-2 on Cabrera with Victor Martinez waiting in the on-deck circle. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss to strike him out. Fastball up the letters, and there are two gone.
It's a nice job of pitching by Warren. A couple of fastballs inside, then a breaking ball down and away, and then he changed the eye level of Miggy with a 91-mile-per-hour heater upstairs.
So with two outs here is Victor Martinez, who is getting his first major league at bat since May 18th when he went on the disabled list for the Tigers, hitting .216.
Tigers were 16. They lost 16 in the 27 games that Victor was out.
They play him to pull on the infield. Shifting to the right side, and he looks at a ball.
And this was the side of the plate that was giving Victor some issues before he went on the disabled list. Batting left-handed. There were no problem batting right-handed for Victor.
Martinez was 5 for 17 in the rehab appearances he made. 3 RBIs. Martinez 0 for 13 before he was placed on the disabled list. And he waits on a 1-0. Oh, they got him picked off. Ghost will try and get himself in a rundown, and he's tagged out. And that will end the inning. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left. Here come the Yankees in the bottom of the first. Lineup for the Yankees presented by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. It features Brett Gardner at the top. He is followed by Chase Headley. Alex Rodriguez looking for hit number 3,000 tonight. Mark Teixeira is at first base, followed by Beltran and Gregorius. Drew, Murphy, and Williams, the bottom three for the Yankees. And they are facing Justin Verlander. Presented tonight by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
And Justin had to wait one extra day to make his second start of the year after that ball game was rained out last night in Cincinnati. I really liked his stuff in the first outing. Fastball was firm, averaged 93. He got up to 97. Of course, the secondary pitches were there as well. The changeup and the curveball. Did not throw many sliders in his first outing.
So JV good to go now, making his 300th career start. He's the 8th Tigers pitcher to reach the 300 plateau in career starts. And he's got Brett Gardner to start things off for the Yankees. Gardner, Headley, and then Alex Rodriguez. Yankees come into play at 36-30. They are one back in the American League East. There's a check swing roller foul, 0-1.
Verlander only threw 87 pitches in his first outing of the year after spending some time on the disabled list. And in throwing 87 pitches, it was only the third time since the beginning of the 2011 season where Verlander did not throw at least 90 pitches.
Here's the 0-1.
Talk about a workhorse.
Down to the corner and left, but it's going to slice back out of play. JV, of course, spending time on the DL for the first time in his career this year.
8 consecutive seasons where he had gone 200 innings or more. Here's Justin's first start of the year. It was against the Cleveland Indians. Good fastballs. It was firm. He made one mistake in that game. It was a fastball he wanted in to Santana. He did not get it there, and Santana played long ball. But other than that, he was pretty good.
Slice back up the middle into center. That would be a base hit for Brett Gardner. Leadoff man is on for the Yanks.
And while we have a moment here, let's set the Tigers' defensive alignment. It is presented by Beaumont Health System. J.D. Martinez in the outfield, along with Cespedes. They both can throw that ball. They both have a lot of assists. But we're going to highlight to J.D. here this evening. He has 5 this season, which is 4th among all American League right fielders.
Here is Chase Headley batting in the 2 slot tonight for the Yankees. .251 this year with 6 home runs.
And Brett Gardner on first base, really the only member of the starting 9 of the Yankees that really has enough speed to steal. He has 15 bags this year. He's been caught 3 times, so Justin needs to pay some attention to Brett.
Altuve leads the American League with 17. Rajay on that list as well. Oh, they got him picked off. Got him at first base. A couple of runners in the first inning have been picked clean.
How about that? Both left-handers, both leadoff hitters picked off today.
Gardner leaning, and Verlander with those quick feet picks up a pickoff.
Verlander has picked off quite a few since coming to the big leagues in 2006. He has really quick feet for a guy that has a power arm, and Gardner just got caught getting off that bag too far.
Yankees right now deciding whether or not to challenge, making Verlander wait here. Pretty close play. Different angle.
He's out.
Ooh, I don't know. They've decided not to, which I guess is going to bring us back to a couple of nights ago, and Brad Ausmus was saying definitive. Describe what definitive means. And that one was too close to challenge, apparently. It's a ball high and away to Chase Headley. He's batting with 1 out, bases empty now. Defensive shift on for Headley. It's Castellanos in right field. And it's in there, a strike, 1-1.
Told you that Verlander has a real good move for a right-hander. 3rd since coming to the big leagues in pickoffs with 25.
Grounded foul.
I would imagine that James Shields still heads that list. He has 31. James Shields.
1-2 the count on Chase Headley. Ghost picked off in the top of the first, and now Gardner in the bottom of the first. Here's the 1-2 offering. And Verlander thought he had strike 3, but he missed the outside corner.
Verlander has a good curveball here today. He's got some real nice depth on it. Even the pitch that Gardner singled sharply up the middle on was not a bad breaking ball.
Clearly outside. Headley lofts it in the air toward left center field. Ghost cruising over. So is Cespedes. And it's going to be Yoenis. 2 gone. That'll bring up Alex Rodriguez.
Batting third in the order, the designated hitter, number 13, Alex Rodriguez. Number 13.
Well, here come the cameras. Alex Rodriguez in search of his 3,000th major league hit.
Alex Rodriguez going for hit number 3,000 across the country is not getting a lot of attention, but here in New York, it is getting a lot of attention.
And they're on their feet now here in the Bronx as Verlander faces A-Rod with 2 outs.
Alex swings early and often.
And he sends it high in the air to right field, hit pretty deep. J.D. Martinez back, track, wall, and gone! Alex Rodriguez has homered, and with that becomes the 29th player in Major League history to record 3,000 hits. You talk about a flair for the dramatic. His teammates offered congratulations, and A-Rod wasn't waiting around. The very first pitch he got from Verlander is hit number 3,000.
That is now the 10th home run that Verlander has given up here in the new Yankee Stadium, and that fan right there, he's fired up. He's got the baseball.
Well, that's the money ball right there. He's not giving that up. Imagine coming to the ball game, now a curtain call for A-Rod.
Real nice gesture there by Justin Verlander, waiting very patiently, steps back off the mound to make sure that Alex can soak up all this love that they're giving him here in New York.
You come to the ballpark, you buy a seat out in right field, and you catch Alex Rodriguez's 3,000th hit. It's a homer.
He's swinging early and he's swinging often, and he also has really good numbers against Justin Verlander. Fastball that gets to the outside part of the plate, but is flipped over that short porch in right field by Alex Rodriguez.
So A-Rod not only a member of the 600 home run club, but now a member of the 3,000 hit club.
And J.D. Martinez simply ran out of room.
Teixeira looks at a ball outside. 3-0 on Mark Teixeira. No more drama tonight as A-Rod does it on the first pitch that he sees here in the first inning. There's the ground ball right side, right into the teeth of a shift. Castellanos backhands and got him by a step.
Nice play by Castellanos.
That'll be it for the Yankees. They get 1 run on the 2 hits. The home run by Alex Rodriguez, number 3,000 in his career. And here's the swing. is the difference in this ball game right now. 3,000th hit for A-Rod. And Victor Martinez, who was at the plate when Ghost was picked off in the first, will resume his at bat with a clean count. It'll be Martinez, Cespedes, and then J.D. Martinez. Adam Warren goes back to the hill. And Victor looks at a ball high, 1-0. A couple of strikeouts in that first inning for Adam Warren. Victor at .216 this year. The 1-0 is looped into right field, going to drop, base hit right in front of Beltran.
It's the first at bat for Victor since he left the ball game at Comerica Park, trying to beat out a double play. And you can see visibly that Victor, that left knee just couldn't allow him to go any further. And the Tigers made the wisest decision by putting him on the disabled list. Let him get healthy.
Well, here is Yoenis Cespedes. The Tigers have their second hit of the game, both leadoff singles. And Cespedes takes outside, 1-0.
I was watching a lot of the Tigers take batting practice before the game today. Miguel, J.D. Martinez, Cespedes. A lot of guys were picking on that right field wall with that short porch. Guys were simply flipping fly balls into the seats.
Cespedes a couple of nights ago had his 10-game hitting streak come to an end in Game 1 in that rain-shortened series against the Reds. Yoenis still over 300 at 302 coming into play tonight. And it's been a huge month of June. He did yeoman's work in the cleanup spot in the absence of Victor Martinez. He rips that one down the left field line. It's a fair ball, going to go to the corner. Victor is on his way to third base, and they will stop him there. It's a double for Cespedes, and the Tigers are in business.
The one thing the Tigers know beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Warren with that high three-quarter arm slot is going to throw a lot of good two-seam fastballs inside at 91. But Cespedes pulls his hands in nicely, barrels it up over the head of Headley, down in the left field corner to get Victor over to third base, and the Tigers are in business.
It'll bring up J.D. Martinez now with nobody out. J.D. at 265 also had his 10-game hitting streak, like Cespedes, come to an end 2 nights ago. Swing and a miss, 0-1. J.D. with 13 homers, 34 driven in. Early RBI opportunity for Martinez with 2 men on. Swing and a miss again, and the count is 0-2.
Of the 13 home runs that Martinez has connected for this year, the majority of the homers have gone the opposite way. He has tremendous power to right field. 7 home runs to right field, 3 straightaway center.
And Warren stays outside, 1-2. That right field wall just 314 feet away from home plate. Straight down the line. Awfully inviting. Left field at 318. So those are the dimensions here at Yankee Stadium down the lines. Here's the 1-2. Just missed. 2-2 on Martinez. Did miss by much, but just a touch low, says Ed Hickox, the home plate umpire. And again, Martinez takes a close pitch. Full count now, 3-2. Just about the same location. A shade off the plate. Fouled straight back.
Take a look at the New York Yankees starting defense. It is brought to you by Tim Hortons. And right to left, they've got Beltran, Williams, Gardner. Third to first, Headley, Gregorius, Drew, Teixeira, Murphy to catcher. 46 errors committed this year by the Yankees, third most in the American League.
Joe Girardi, the skipper of the New York Yankees, 8th year at the helm with 684 wins, which is now 6th in Yankees history. Swing and a miss, and JD goes down on strikes, and Warren already now with 3 strikeouts. 1 gone. That'll bring up Nick Castellanos. Yankees and Tigers met earlier this season, way back at the start of the year when the Tigers got off to that 11-2 start. The Yankees came into town, took 3 out of 4.
They sent the Tigers reeling after that.
So Castellanos batting .221 stands in. And Nick looks at a strike 0-1. He has been the topic of conversation for the Tigers. The Tigers desperately trying to get Nick going offensively here. He has hit 4 home runs this season, but the month of June he has struggled. 191 this month. This at bat here could go a long way toward getting him some confidence with 2 men on. He skies this one in the air down the right field line, heading back to the seats. Now it's 0-2. Leadoff single by Victor Martinez, double by Cespedes. And Warren trying to work his way out of this second inning jam. Here's the 0-2. Nick saying it got him on the hand, and yes, Ed Hickox will agree. So Castellanos and the Tigers get a bit of a break there. He was down on the count 0-2, and he's ended up at first base, hit by the pitch.
And Joe Girardi not buying it.
Look, he got him on the bottom hand.
Looked like it grazed him.
In the meantime, we're waiting to see if Girardi wants to do anything about this.
I think what Girardi's looking at is whether it hit the bat or whether it hit his hand. The ball definitely changed directions. There's no question about that.
Meanwhile, Ed Hickox is saying, let's go. What's your decision? You can't challenge that. There's no way you look at a replay on that and say it hit the bat. So Castellanos hit by pitch, and they're loaded now for Brian Holiday. Only 1 out. Holiday looks at a ball outside.
B. Holiday was bouncing around the clubhouse today. And he was scheduled to start last night. That game was rained out, and Brett Osmond still giving Brian the opportunity to catch Justin Verlander here this evening.
And he shoots one in the air to center field. That's going to drop, base hit. 1 run scores. Cespedes rounding third. He will score, and Holiday comes through with a 2-run single.
We might have to give Brett Osmond the 1-800 call Sam of the game.
RBIs 9 and 10 for Holiday.
Went down and got a pretty good breaking ball. And Tigers had been laying off that pitch that Warren's been throwing. It's a good pitch, but B. Holiday had an idea he was going to throw it, and he lost one in the center field. Cespedes got a good read. Then he wasn't sure, but still able to score rather easily from second base.
So Holiday comes through, and that'll bring up Jose Iglesias, the number 9 hitter in the lineup. Tigers had their first lead, 2-1. And Iglesias takes a strike. Tigers really just, Rod, couldn't get it going in that one game they played in Cincinnati. I mean, they had 6 hits in that first game, but it went 13 innings.
Miguel, he got it going in the 6th inning. He hit a 3-run home run against Johnny Cueto. It was the final pitch that Cueto threw, but beyond the 6th inning, From an offensive standpoint, they could do nothing. Cincinnati did have a lot of offense in the extra innings. They finally put it together to win that game in 13 with the walk-off grand slam by Frazier.
The Tigers in that game against the Reds were 6 for 45 on the night, which computes to a 133 average. But they've gotten the offense going early here this evening. And it was Victor Martinez that got it started with a single. Checked it. Did he go? Yes, he went around, said Mike Estabrook.
Appears to be a pretty good call by Mr. Estabrook, the first base umpire this evening.
And that'll be the 4th strikeout now for Warren. 2 outs, and back up to the top we go. Here's Anthony Gose. Tigers already 4 hits in this game tonight. Gose had a single, but it was picked off in the first. Holiday, Castellanos on the bases. Oh, all the way to the backstop it goes. That'll advance the runners. A wild pitch.
Warren has had 5 starts here at home, and he has pitched awfully well. As a matter of fact, in all 5 of those starts, 2 earned runs or less. 2 wins, 1 loss, and a 2.20 ERA. Not pitching as well away from Yankee Stadium.
Well, he's had some bumpy numbers here tonight. The wild pitch will put 2 more men in scoring position now as Gose waits on a 1-0. And Anthony looks at a strike. Gose here in the month of June is at 178. Brad was saying before the game that maybe they're starting to pitch him a little bit more differently because he hit over 300 the first 2 months of the year. And Gose has seen a few more breaking balls, a lot of more off-speed pitches along the way. He'll roll that one foul. And I think Anthony's shown he can hit a fastball.
Anthony continues to evolve in a really good big league player. Runs the bases well, stellar in defensively in center. And so far having a really productive offensive here, batting .287.
Here's the 1-2. Bouncing ball first base side, gobbled up there by Teixeira. He'll take it himself. That'll be it for the Tigers. However, they scored 2 to take the lead. And in tonight's game, we are participating in the Home Run Challenge. Every Tigers home run in this game raises $12,500 for prostate cancer research. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Back here in the Bronx, Verlander back to the hill now, ahead 2-1. And the first one is outside to Carlos Beltran. Didi Gregorius and then Stephen Drew in the Yankees second. JV allowed the home run to Alex Rodriguez in the first. Swing and a miss. And the count on Beltran 1-1.
Yeah, that home run hit by Alex Rodriguez in the first was the 63rd run the Yankees have scored in the first inning, which is the most in the major leagues.
Shift on for Beltran, and there's a ball outside, 2-1.
I thought the Tigers got off to a lot of fast starts this year.
Yeah, me too. I read that stat, which was kind of surprising. Beltran, not a whole lot of luck against Verlander. 1 for 10. Here's the 2-1. Carlos been around a while. He has hit a lot of home runs in his career as well. 378. Former Rookie of the Year in the American League way back in 1999. And he pops this one up. Long run for Iglesias, who hadn't played to pull, but he'll get there. And one gone. Let's check in with Trevor Thompson now. He's got more on the Alex Rodriguez homer.
Well, Alex Rodriguez homered for his 3,000th hit, and so did Yankee Derek Jeter, very famously off of David Price, who was then with the Tampa Bay Rays. Price was asked earlier whose 3,000th was more impressive, Jeter's or A-Rod's, and he went with Jeter for the simple fact that Jeter played all those years with one team, with the Yankees, and led them to so much success. But the fact that A-Rod's got 3,000 hits and 600 home runs, joining Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, I don't know. That's a pretty big feat if you ask me. Back up to you guys.
Yeah, Trev, that's the elite company. When you're talking about 600 taters on top of your 3,000 hits, I mean, that's awfully good.
And not only that, Alex won MVPs, and he also stole a lot of bases in his big league career. There was a time when Alex was stealing 25, 30 bags a year.
Here's Gregorius with one out. Fouled straight back.
There's only been 3 players in the history of the game to hit a home run and for their 3,000th hit. Trevor gave you 2 of them, Jeter and A-Rod. Wade Boggs is the other one.
Boggs did his with Tampa, didn't he?
He did.
0-2. Slap foul back out of play.
I said at the top of the show, and I was half joking but somewhat serious. I had a feeling that, and because of the numbers that Alex Rodriguez has in his career against Justin, he was going to get 3,000 here tonight. Because Justin was not going to back away from him. He was going to challenge him.
Well, and Brad mentioned before the ball game as well. I mean, it's probably likely that he was going to do it in this series at the very least. I mean, it's hard to hold him down for 3 games. It did not go. But A-Rod did it on the very first pitch that he saw.
We brought that up as well. A-Rod loves to swing early and often these days.
1-2 on Didi Gregorius, the Yankee shortstop. Speaking of Jeter, Gregorius manning that position these days. He sends this one high in the air and deep into right. Martinez going back, track to the wall, looks up, and that one is gone. And Didi Gregorius hits it out, just his 3rd of the year, and tie the ball game.
Verlander has only pitched 40 innings in this ballpark, and he has now given up 11 home runs.
Whoa.
11 home runs in 40 innings in this yard. It's a fastball right down the middle. Even a 231 hitter, and like Gregorius, can get underneath it and flip it over the short porch in right center field.
Justin's ERA coming in at Yankee Stadium was over 4 career. And Gregorius hits his 3rd. There's a check swing foul off the bat of Stephen Drew.
I guess if you're going to give up home runs, you want to give up solo shots.
Drew batting 169, 9 home runs this year. Well, I guess you don't mind when A-Rod hits him out, but then the little guys come up there and park one into the bullpen. Here's a strike on the outer edge. 0-2 on Drew. Verlander trying to shake off a couple of home run balls. All tied up at 2 now. And Drew takes low. Here are the splits on Verlander against the Yankees in his career. ERA at home a little bit better. Less than, or more than a run more on the road, I should say. A sub 500 record. That one missed. 2-2. Drew is not hitting for high average, but he does have power in that bat. In fact, only Brian Dozier has more home runs at the second base position this year. Dozier with 13 of the Minnesota Twins. Now the 2-2. Back up the middle off Verlander. It'll carry him to third base, but no play. Infield hit for Stephen Drew.
Looked like he got Verlander right off the right leg. Trickled to Castellanos, but Castellanos had no shot at Drew.
Here's the number 8 hitter, John Ryan Murphy. Yankees catcher tonight. He sits safely in his last 3. JV would like a ground ball here. Ball 1. Murphy had a couple of stints last year with the Yankees at .284 in the big leagues.
Originally drafted by the Yankees in the 2009 draft in the second round.
He'll rip that one to left field. That's going to drop. Base hit. And Drew will go to second and stop there. 3 consecutive hits now for the Yanks.
Verlander has left some pitches up in the strike zone. The fastball to Gregorius is right down the middle. And here's a breaking ball that does not get to the location that Brian Holiday wanted it to get to. And a lot of times, those hanging breaking balls, they don't make it to the catcher's glove.
It'll bring up Mason Williams, the number 9 hitter. Yankees are without Jacoby Ellsbury. He's on the DL with a sprained knee. Williams getting a chance to play some outfield at the big league level. And he looks at ball 1.
They've got to get Ellsbury healthy if they're going to do anything this year. From an offensive standpoint, Jacoby had 1 homer and 6 RBIs this year.
A long way away from some of the numbers he has put up in the past.
No doubt.
It's a high drive to center, playable though. Goes under it. Measures it nicely, and the runners will hold.
Every single fly ball to Ghost in the outfield, he anticipates that base runner is going to try to tag up on him and advance 90 feet, and he's always ready to throw. That is something that you just can't teach, because the one time you don't do it, that guy is going to tag up on you and advance 90 feet because you are back on your heels.
Here is Brett Gardner. Gardner had a single back in the first, but then Verlander picked him off. Yanks have tied it up. They are looking to go ahead here in the second. And JV misses low, 1-0. Verlander in search of his first strikeout of the ball game. He is 3rd all time on the Tigers list in strikeouts, behind Jack Morris, Mickey Lolich. Lolich 1st all time. And the count goes to 2-0 now on Brett Gardner. Two outs, men in scoring position. Brett Gardner pretty good. 318. Bouncing ball back up the middle. Kinsler will flip to Iglesias for the force. That'll end the inning. They get a run on the home run by Gregorius. Tigers baseball tonight presented by Bell Tire. Remind you to stay tuned to Tigers Live. Following the game, we'll select the Fox Sports Detroit Tigers Player of the Game, presented by McDonald's Big Mac and 10-piece McNuggets. Well, it's been an interesting start to this one. The Tigers fell behind when Alex Rodriguez homered in the first pitch he saw in the first inning for his 3,000th hit. Tigers went ahead 2-1, and now Gregorius is homer to tie it up. It'll be Kinsler here in the third, followed by Cabrera and then Victor Martinez.
And Kinsler caught looking at strike three his first time up. It was a slider on the inside corner thrown by Warren.
It's in there. A strike called on Ian.
And most of the fastballs that Warren has thrown tonight have gone anywhere from 90 to 92. And we have not seen 95, 96.
That one sails outside, 1-1.
Also told you earlier that pretty much just two pitches against right-handed batters for Warren. The fastball and the slider. He will mix in curveballs and changeups to the left-handed hitters. Good off-speed pitch there thrown by Warren.
This is his first full season as a full-time member of the rotation. As Kinsler spoils that one.
He might be out of the rotation really soon, too. Not that he's not pitching well, but they like him in the bullpen. Ivan Nova, who had Tommy John surgery about 13 months ago. He is due to come back soon. As early as next week, possibly. And they say Warren more than likely will go back to the bullpen.
Kinsler sends a ground ball foul at third base. Hey, by the way, just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller Time. Later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, the Yankees this year are 8-4 in his 12 starts. He really has done a nice job. Nova has had success in their rotation before the injury. Again, the 1-2. And that'll even it up now. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Here are those splits you were talking about, how they like him as a reliever.
And right now the Yankees have 4 left-handers in their bullpen, and Girardi would like another right-handed arm out in that bullpen. And Warren has had a lot of success pitching out of the Yankee bullpen.
Miguel Cabrera waiting on deck. Warren had a couple of strikeouts in the first. He fanned Kinsler and Cabrera. Bouncing ball left side, right at the third baseman Headley. So Kinsler is 0 for 2.
Let's take a look at the knuckle curve grip that Adam Warren features. You can see the index finger and the knuckle on that breaking ball, and he gets a real nice break on it.
He produced a ground ball for him. Now here is Cabrera.
Miggy did not look comfortable in his first at-bat tonight against Warren. He struck out on a fastball that was over the plate, but it was up and out of the strike zone. And Miggy got a fastball right there. Looked like the identical pitch that he homered on a couple of nights ago against Johnny Cueto. Good cut fastball away, firm at about 92. And Miggy just missed it.
Cueto was absolutely dealing and had stymied the Tigers at one point, retiring 13 straight. And then Cabrera got him for a 3-run shot. 0-2.
As the weather has started to heat up, so has Miguel Cabrera. Take a look at these June totals.
365 is not too shabby. He's knocked in 17 this month as well. Here's the 0-2. Swing and miss, and Warren has struck him out twice in this game. So he's starting to pile up the strikeouts. That'll be 5 for the ball game.
2 fastballs to Miguel. Miguel swung and fouled both of those off. Then he disguised this last pitch, the breaking ball. It stayed on the fastball plane all the way until about 3 feet from the plate, and then it just darted away from the bat of Miguel Cabrera.
Here's Victor Martinez, who started the second with a single in his first at bat off the disabled list. Victor, as we mentioned before going on the DL, was 0 for his previous 13. Tigers decided to shut him down, and hopefully that'll do the trick for the rest of the year. You saw the shift they're playing on Victor.
Tigers were 11-16 in the 27 games that Victor missed while on the disabled list.
Happiest guy in the building today had to be Brad Ausmus, able to write down Victor's name in the lineup again.
He didn't waste any time putting him right back in that number 4 slot, did he?
No, he didn't. Charging that ball. Drew throws him out. Inning is over. 1-2-3 frame for Adam Warren. the middle game in this 3-game series against the Yankees. Our coverage begins at 6 with Tigers Live. Tigers Yanks tomorrow, 6 p.m. right here on Fox Sports Detroit. Make your evening plans to be with us. Verlander goes to work and misses high to Chase Headley, who starts it off. It'll be Headley, Rodriguez, and Teixeira. 2, 3, and 4 for the Yanks. Swing and a miss, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Good change piece there thrown by Verlander. Good arm speed. He sold it as a fastball, and that's exactly what the changeup is designed to do, disrupt the timing of the hitter.
Headley backs out of there, 2-1.
Most of the heaters that Justin has thrown tonight have been anywhere from 91 to 93.
Two and two. There was a time when Headley was one of the best players in the National League. In fact, he finished 5th in the MVP voting back in 2012. Really wasn't all that long ago. He had 115 RBIs that year for the Padres. Lift that one back out of play.
Yeah, he really hasn't come close to those numbers since that year.
Yankees picked him up last July in a trade and eventually re-signed him in the offseason.
He is sitting on 99 career home runs. His next one, a milestone for him.
Two, the count stays on Headley. He flied to left field in his first at bat. Yankees swept the short 2-game series against the Marlins. They came in 1 game behind the Rays in the American League East. They've won 9 of their last 10 here at home. They've been playing some pretty good baseball at Yankee Stadium. And now JV started the windup, but time is given to Headley. Here's the 2-2. Outside, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Now the full count pitch. Lifted back out of play. Tigers, meanwhile, find themselves in 3rd place in the Central, and the Tigers are trailing KC now by 5.5. Brad was asked the other day, at what point do you start to be concerned a little bit with what these standings look like? And he said, we've got, 96 more games to play?
Yeah, he said he wasn't concerned. He said he was not going to panic.
Broken bat roller toward first base. That'll be a routine play for Miguel Cabrera. 1 gone here in the 3rd. Here's Alex Rodriguez, and it's our T-Mobile game changer. In the 1st inning, A-Rod hit his 667th home run, which happened to be his 3,000th Major League hit. 29th player all-time in Major League history to reach that plateau. Got a bunch of Silver Sluggers. Been an all-star time and time again. 14 of them.
One of 3 players in Major League Baseball history to have 300th. A home run. 3,000th, excuse me. First pitch fastball in the 1st inning from Justin Verlander. Some of the folks weren't even in their seats yet. Some folks probably still stuck on the train, right?
No doubt. They're probably listening to it on the radio. A little bit upset right now. 1 ball, 1 strike. So meanwhile, here are the updated numbers against Verlander in his career. 5 homers.
Yeah, he's got Verlander in his book a few times.
Here's the 1-1. Broken bat, little pop up, and Kinsler will make the play. 2 gone. So Verlander won that battle. The Bernstein advantage pitcher batter matchup. It brings on Mark Teixeira, who has had not nearly the same success that A-Rod has had against Verlander. In fact, nowhere close. 3 for 34.
With these kind of numbers, I'm surprised that Girardi didn't give Tex the night off.
swing and a miss, 0-1.
But he's having a good year, Teixeira. He's already left the building 18 times. He leads their team with 48 RBIs as well.
Managers will often tell you that when they're trying to plan a day off for one of their star players, it usually is best if you can find that one guy that he has no success against. And tonight, I guess, would have been that night with Verlander. But he elected to put him in the lineup. Here's the 1-1. And Teixeira looks at a strike, 1-2.
And that is a perfect example of why Miguel Cabrera plays every day. Because there's not that one guy out there.
He literally.
Verlander's thrown some outstanding curveballs here tonight.
Teixeira grounded out 5-3 in his first at bat. That was to right field. They had the shift on. And still do. The 1-2. This time hit back up the middle. Nice play, Iglesias.
Iggy.
Spinning move to throw him out.
Do it, Iggy.
6-3 rollout. 1-2-3 frame for Justin Verlander. Fourth inning tonight, and a great night for baseball here at Yankee Stadium. Tigers and Yanks cracking open a 3-game series. Detroit will then go to Cleveland to face the Indians to start next week. Adam Warren back to the hill, and he delivers strike one to Yoenis Cespedes. Cespedes, then J.D. Martinez and Nick Castellanos for the Tigers here in the fourth. Tigers got their 2 runs on a 2-run hit by Holiday in the second. And Yoenis skies this one in the air to center. It's going to be playable. Mason Williams is under it. One gone here in the fourth. Hey, catch 4 games at Comerica Park for as low as $73 with the new Tigers 4-packs. Choose 4 bobblehead giveaways, 4 fireworks nights, or 4 weekday matinee games. Call 313-471-2255 or visit Tigers.com. J.D. Martinez struck out his only time up. Strike one. Tigers got 2 runs in the second, single by Victor, single by Cespedes, and then later in the inning a 2-run hit by Holiday. The Yankees then tied it up on the Gregorius home run in the bottom of the second.
And so far tonight, Adam Warren is 10 of 16 in first pitch strikes thrown to the Tigers batters. and therefore he's punched out 5 already. His season high in strikeouts is 7.
Warren last year pitching exclusively out of the bullpen for the Yankees. Had a good ERA, 2.97 out of the pen. In quite a few appearances. 69 appearances to be exact.
If they do ask him to go back to the bullpen, he will go. There's no doubt about that. But he won't be happy about it. Most guys would much prefer to start in the big leagues versus being a 7th inning guy or maybe an 8th inning guy.
Swing and a miss.
You get paid a lot more money when you're a starter in the major leagues. A lot more money.
2-2 on J.D. Martinez. There's Castellanos waiting on deck. Fouled off.
He's got some nice arm side run to that 2-seam fastball that just continues to eat up a lot of these Tigers inside.
Here are those numbers we spoke of last year. He threw 78 2/3 innings out of the bullpen. Missed it high there. 3-2. Ground ball back up the middle. Gregorius to his left. And Martinez is out 2 away. It'll be 7 straight retired now by the right-hander Warren after the 2-run single by Halladay. There's Castellanos. Tigers will see Nathan Eovaldi tomorrow, and then Masahiro Tanaka is scheduled to go on Sunday.
Eovaldi will be working on short rest for the first time in his major league career. And he was beat up by his former club, the Miami Marlins, in his last start. He only threw about 30 pitches in that game, so they're going to bring him back. Eovaldi had that one really good start against the Tigers earlier this year at Comerica Park. I'm sure that probably played into some of the decision making by Joe Girardi to bring him back early against the Tigers.
Castellanos hit by a pitch, which helped set up that 2-run second. 1 ball, 1 strike.
There are not many guys that have success in the big leagues when you bring them back on short rest. The numbers just aren't pretty over the years.
Here's the 1-1. Fouled back out of play. Well, I mean, you see it a lot of times in the postseason. If a guy gives up a lot of runs, they just get him out of the game and maybe use him again later in that series.
Or you have that dominant ace that you try to bring back early in a series, and it usually doesn't work out well. It's not like the old days where those guys had 3 days rest and they always worked on the 4th day.
Did CC have some success doing that a couple of years back?
CC had a lot of success doing it down the stretch for Milwaukee. That's one of the reasons why they got into the postseason that year. But then when he got into the postseason, he was not good at all. He was struggling in the postseason.
This year he is really scuffling. 5.3 ERA. 7 losses in 14 starts.
No decision in his ball game last night against the Miami Marlins. He was trying to beat them, and had he beaten them, CC Sabathia would have wins against every major league team.
That was the 60th pitch by Warren. Here comes number 61. And it's pulled on the ground to third. Nice play there by Headley. Dug out at first base by Teixeira. 8 straight retired by the right-hander Warren. Got some help from his defense there. And Justin Verlander goes back to the hill facing Beltran, Gregorius, and Stephen Drew in a ball game tied at 2. Tigers have 4 hits. Yankees have 5 in this game. Verlander got Beltran to pop up his first time in a wave and a miss. Cardinals sit safely in 3 straight. He homered in the ball game last night. Their win against the Marlins. They've got him played to pull. Castellanos on the grass in right field. And Miggy hugging the line down at first base. Drilled to center field. Goes a couple steps back. Beltran is out, 1 gone. I mentioned that Justin Verlander making start number 300 here tonight. He's on a list of guys that have done that since 2005 when JD broke in.
You know, those guys also very durable, and most of those guys have never spent much time on the disabled list. Justin Verlander hit the DL for the very first time in his career this year.
Here is Didi Gregorius, who homered to tie the ball game up back in the second. Bouncing ball to third. Nice backhanded play by Castellanos, who was on the grass. 2 gone. Well, since we went back to 2005 to see the starts, how about the most wins?
Verlander checks in second with 152. Of course, there was about a 3-year run there where Justin Verlander was known universally as the best pitcher in the game.
MVP Cy Young season for Verlander.
Won a Rookie of the Year as well.
Stephen Drew looks at a strike.
And Verlander and Don Newcomb, the only pitchers in the history of the game to win a Rookie of the Year, an MVP, and also a Cy Young. There's only been 2 of them.
In there, a strike, 1-1 on Drew. Not so sure that Drew felt that was a strike. A little silent protest there for Ed Hickox. The Yankees signed Drew to a 1-year deal in January. And he takes the ball high, would not chase that fastball up.
American League East is up for grabs this year. The Tampa Bay Rays in first place by 1 game over the Yankees when play began tonight. And who would have thought that?
Not me. That's into shallow right field and caught by JD Martinez. 8 straight retired by Verlander. Brought to you by the Sam Bernstein Law Firm, official legal services sponsor of Fox Sports Detroit. Bell Tire, get the lowest tire price, period. Bell Tire. Myers, save big with M-Perks from Myers. Sign up at mperks.com. And by Chevrolet, find new roads. Spectacular night here in New York. 2-2 is our score. Statue of Liberty looking good here this evening. And the Tigers and Yankees hooked up in a good one. Both starting pitchers have really settled in now. Verlander and Warren have each retired 8 straight. Here's Brian Holiday to get it started. And Brian looks at ball 1. 2-run single for Holiday back in the second. And that provided the Tigers so far with their only offense. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Fouled back out of play. 1-1. Holiday, Iglesias, Ghosts in the Tiger 5th. Alex Avila once again was out working out at the ballpark today, was running sprints. He caught a bullpen, so he gets closer and closer to his return. Ooh, he shows bunt, but looked at it up high.
And Brian will bunt for a base hit down toward third base. He's done it several times and since putting on a Tigers uniform.
Making Chase Headley think about it a little bit at least. He's moved in a step. He was deep at third. He is still back. The 2-1. 2-2 on Holiday. James McCann caught that first game against the Cincinnati Reds. That was that 13-inning game that took forever because of the hour and 14-minute rain delay.
His legs will be fresh when he comes back tomorrow night after a couple of nights off.
A little bit outside. Full count now, 3-2 on Holiday. Iglesias waiting on deck. Pulled to left but foul. I mentioned Avila was out running sprints today and also caught a bullpen. He'll be hitting tomorrow in the cage, and so he's doing as many baseball activities now as they can get in, and eventually will have to go on a rehab assignment. But Alex feels that he'll be able to come back before the All-Star break. Warren with the 3-2. Popped up. This will stay in play. Shallow left field. Gregorius called off by Gardner.
Tigers have been a really good team with Alex Avila behind the plate. They've won the last 4 consecutive American League Central crowns, led by Alex Avila. Been doing a lot of bike riding too.
Avila was walking in the dugout the other day in Cincinnati after throwing, and was asked how things went. He says, "Oh, the cannon feels great." There's a strike call on Iglesias. You know, we make so much of the arm of James McCann, and rightfully so.
He also said the broadcasts were sounding good too, just in case our bosses are listening.
It's a bouncing ball to short.
What? That's true.
You're always looking for a plug, man.
He said it. You heard it.
I heard. I was there. 2 gone.
And Alex got some thrown in yesterday before the skies opened up in Cincinnati, and that game was rained out last night, throwing to second base. Mick Billmeyer feeding Alex those fastballs.
Anyway, we make a lot of the arm that James McCann has, but Avila's throwout percentage has been awfully good in the big leagues too. So the Tigers in pretty good shape with their catching position.
One bat's left-handed, one bat's right-handed. Nice compliment there.
There's a strike called on Ghosts.
He's thrown Ghosts some nice breaking balls here today. He's kept Anthony off balance after Anthony singled sharply on the first fastball thrown of the game by Adam Warren.
Now the 0-2. That'll bounce in. 1-2 on Ghosts. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Yankees. 2 runs on 4 hits for the Tigers. Warren about to throw his 75th pitch. He has set down 10 consecutive Tigers hitters. Goes a single and a ground out in this ball game. 1 for 2. Slap to left field. That is going to slice. Foul.
A lot of Yankee people were asking me today, and what is Ghost doing for him to have the kind of success that he has had this year? Because last year he played for Toronto, and of course they played the Yankees 19 times, and they really hadn't seen Ghost have a lot of success. So I simply pointed toward Wally Joyner and David Newhand, the 2 hitting coaches in the Tigers dugout, and they're the main reason why Ghost is doing what he's doing this year. Sometimes it takes that one hitting coach to show you some confidence and show you a couple of things to help you get to the level where a lot of people thought you should have been at your entire career in the majors.
Now Warren taking too long, so Ghost is given time. Now they'll reset. 2 outs, nobody on here in the 5th. And Ghost takes low. So he's gone from 0-2 to filling the count 3-2 now on Anthony. And should he reach, Kinsler will be next. Ghost, for as much as he has done in terms of improving offensively, man, he's got that one thing, that's speed, which will always be with him and always be an asset. 3-2 is bounced to the shortstop. Gregorius to his left. Ghost is out of there. Another 1-2-3 inning for Warren. Tigers baseball tonight at Yankee Stadium, presented by Bell Tire. And we remind you that Tuesday Major League Baseball returns as Matt Carpenter and the National League Central leading Cardinals take on Giancarlo Stanton and the Marlins. A game you can see only on Fox Sports 1. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Also streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
I don't think there's a player in the major leagues that hits the ball as hard as Stanton does, whether it be a left-hander or a right-hander. He generates tremendous bat speed.
Yeah, they have tools and numbers to measure that these days, and you're absolutely right. I mean, he's at the top of most of those lists. Verlander back to work at a swing and a miss.
I think he already has 25 big flies this year. He's on pace to hit 60 this season.
Oh.
And that hit speed you're talking about, the balls come off his bat with regularity at about 115 miles an hour, which is way faster than anybody else in the game.
You're the NL home run leaders.
Yeah, we saw Todd Father there, too.
You love that
for him.
You just love that nickname, don't you?
I do like that. How'd you guess?
Frazier with 22. Harper has 22. Goldschmidt kind of goes under the radar, doesn't he?
He sure does, man, but he is one of the best players in the senior circuit.
Ground ball to third. It's a foul ball.
As a matter of fact, he might just be the best all-around first baseman in the National League, Goldschmidt.
John Ryan Murphy leading it off here in the fifth, and Mason Williams and Brett Gardner. Tigers have been out hit 5-4. They have not had a hit since the 2-run single by Holiday way back in the second. But Verlander has done his job as well. Bounce that one in. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Murphy.
What a boost this is going to be for the Tigers rotation if Verlander just continues to go out and pitch the way that he's pitched his first couple of outings. He is basically going through spring training right now. But he's out there competing. He's throwing all of his pitches. The fastball's gotten up to 95 here tonight.
Grounded back up the middle. Iglesias spinning. What a play by Jose.
He is he's incredible. He really is. I mean, he gets such great jumps, and then he flips and turns, and he doesn't even look at the target, and he throws really, really accurate. I'm going to give him the Gold Glove right now, today. On June 20th, it is his first.
I'm going to bring up Mason Williams. You're going to have some company with that prediction.
From who?
No, I mean people saying the same thing.
Oh,
they're going to be with you.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
1-1 on Mason Williams. There is not a smoother defender in the American League. People say Andrelton Simmons over in the National League, and that's a good comp. I mean, he's really good. He's exceptional, actually.
He is the best, probably, shortstop in the game, Simmons. I'm fond of the guy in Kansas City, too.
Escobar?
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, he's really good, too.
He's going to the All-Star game, you know.
Is he starting?
With the rest of the team. We're just going to rent a jet.
They might as well.
Here's the 1-1. Offered the bunt and looks at a strike. One and 2 on Mason Williams, who fly to center field against JV in the second. .93 on the gun there with the fastball that missed. 2-2.
If you weren't with us earlier, I gave you a stat on Justin Verlander. His last start, he threw 87 pitches. And that was only the third time since the beginning of the 2011 season.
Just out of the reach of Kinsler, base hit.
Where Justin Verlander did not throw at least 90 pitches. 3 times. Xfinity is telling us that the top fastball thrown so far tonight by Justin, 95. He's gotten to that velocity on a couple of different occasions.
That single, by the way, breaks up the stretch of 9 straight retired by Verlander. And now the top of the order, Brett Gardner. A lot of fireworks early in this game. All of the runs were scored in the first 2 innings, but nothing since. Gardner has singled in 2 at-bats. Williams, no stolen bases this year. In the minor leagues, though, he stole as many as 28 in a minor league season. He'll draw another throw.
Against Verlander, you cannot inch your way off that bag too far. He's got a really good pickoff move. As a matter of fact, he's already picked off Brett Gardner here tonight, the hitter who is standing in the batter's box. And Justin picked him off back in the first inning after he singled. Change piece was nasty. Gardner about screwed himself into the ground.
I still believe this injury to Verlander may end up in the long run, if he's able to come back and pitch well, help him out by keeping him fresher late in the season. When September rolls around, and hopefully even the postseason.
He hurt himself.
Oh, he sure did. Is that his shoulder?
Easy, Mickey.
Well, we saw Moscott, the Cincinnati pitcher, back at Comerica, hurt his shoulder diving. Oh,
exactly what he did. He jarred it. Went in too hard with that right hand.
So we'll see if this is something that's going to take him out of the game, or just something he needs to shake off.
I'll give you one more angle. You can see him reach for that right shoulder as soon as he gets back to the bag.
I wonder if it was one of those where it popped out then popped in real quick. He's not coming out. Ellsbury's on the DL, and Mason Williams getting a chance to play in the big leagues. Not coming out of this game. 0-1 the count on Brett Gardner. Man on, man out. 2-2 in the fifth. One ball, one strike. Gardner last night, couple of hits, including a home run in their win against the Marlins. Homegrown talent by the Yankees. He's been in their system his entire career. He's gotten to the big leagues. Been a productive major league player. He'll send that one high in the air into right field. J.D. Martinez looks up on this one, and it's gone. Another home run for the Yankees. This one a two-run shot. Verlander has surrendered 3 home runs tonight. Gardner hits his 7th.
It's a breaking ball that ended up inside. Most left-handed batters like the ball down and in. Gardner went to get it. And J.D. Martinez has watched several fly over his head today.
Yeah, Rodriguez, Gregorius, and now Brett Gardner.
The Yankees play really good baseball here at Yankee Stadium. In their last 10 games, they've won 9 of those meetings, scoring runs in bunches.
Headley takes it up high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And here's the last 10 at home, averaging nearly 7 runs a game. The batting average over 300.
Overall this year, the Yankees are 18-11 here in their home ballpark. So they become hard to beat here at Yankee Stadium.
We were talking about the American League East and how that's all bunched together. The first 4 teams only separated by 3 games coming into play tonight. That division really up for grabs.
Headley strikes out swinging. 2 gone.
And no one giving Tampa really the credit they deserve to be in first place on June 20th.
Well, I think it's because it's a team that is devoid really of a lot of superstar offensive players. And they get it done with their pitching staff. But they're 8 games over 500.
Baltimore finally 2 games over. Toronto, they ran off like 11 games in a row and didn't make up any ground.
Right. Strike called on Alex Rodriguez.
And a good breaking ball there thrown to Rodriguez, who loves to feast on first pitch fastballs. Hit a home run earlier in the game, number 3,000 on first pitch fastball thrown by Justin.
Now it's 0-2.
Started him off with a breaking ball, came back with another breaking ball. Maybe change his eye level with a fastball up and see if he'll chase.
That'll bounce in, 1-2. Home run in the first was his 13th of the year, and now over his career 667 long balls. Babe Ruth next on the list at 714.
And right now he is tied with the late great Roberto Clemente.
Little chopper slowly towards short. Iglesias charging. A-Rod is out. Inning is over. Not before damage is done. 2-run shot from the leadoff man, Brett Gardner.
In this game tonight, Miguel Cabrera, Teixeira, Verlander, Cespedes, Iglesias. Don't forget about me. He has made 3 really nice plays. A couple of those ranging to his left, throwing accurately to Miggy to first base. Then he came in on one last half inning to get Alex Rodriguez to finish the inning.
So the Tigers have some ground to make up now. There is a new center fielder. Looks like Williams is out of the game. Chris Young will take over for Mason Williams. He jammed his shoulder diving back into the bag. Kinsler takes a strike. It'll be Ian followed by Cabrera and then Victor Martinez.
Last time we saw Chris Young, he was wearing out Tigers pitching in that 4-game series at Comerica Park.
Kinsler is 0 for 2 in this game. Sends a ground ball to third. Fair ball off the glove of Headley, and Kinsler is aboard to start things off.
Headley, real good defender, but he couldn't knock down this base hit to his right that hit right off the bag, and that's the reason why he didn't make that play. A little luck for the Tigers in that Cincinnati series. Cincinnati got a couple of hits that hit the bag. One at third and one at second.
Well, time for Miggy to tie it up then. Cabrera has fanned twice in this game.
He got Miggy the first time on a fastball that was up out of the strike zone. And then he got Miggy the second time on a breaking ball that was down out of the strike zone. And that's unusual for Miggy. He does not leave the strike zone all that frequently.
Warren had retired 11 straight prior to that single by Kinsler.
And in both of Miggy's plate appearances here tonight, Warren has started him off with fastballs. Not that time.
1-0. Four runs, 7 hits for the Yanks. The Tigers have 2 runs, 5 hits. Backed him out of there inside. 2 balls, no strikes now on Miguel. Victor Martinez waiting on deck. Tigers trying to get something going for the first time since the second when they scored their 2 runs.
Well, you just wonder if Warren will challenge Miguel here with a fastball in a 2-0 count. Miggy has seen several fastballs tonight thrown by Warren. He pretty much has him sized up by now. A breaking ball.
Fouled away.
You remember a couple of years ago, Mariano Rivera on the mound in this very ballpark. Miguel Cabrera, he caused the future Hall of Famer to say wow after homering one day, and a couple of days later taking him deep again. It was Mariano's final season in the big leagues, and he was having a great year.
Hall of Fame matchup there.
Yes, indeed.
Both guys headed to Cooperstown. 2-1 on Cabrera.
It's a big at bat right here for Miguel, and Warren knows as much, especially with the guys batting behind Miggy. There's no let up anywhere.
Shoots it to right field, base hit. He went the other way. Kinsler on his way to third. Here's the throw, not in time, and it gets away. Kinsler coming home, throw to the plate, tag, out.
Kinsler should have stayed at third base, but also give Headley some credit for bouncing over there to get the ball and then making an accurate throw to the catcher, who was able to apply the tag.
It was a high throw. He may have gotten in. We'll see on the replay. Tigers will look at it. The throw was high. He's out. Ed Hickok's right there on the call. Tigers taking a look at it right now to decide, but Kinsler right now out at home plate. And then Brad's going to challenge it. Or is he out there talking about whether or not the catcher was blocking the plate?
Didn't look like it.
No, and it looked like the tag was made on Kinsler.
For sure. Looks like Brad's going to lose this one on both accounts. But you may as well ask.
Now the Tigers are not going to pursue this. Pretty good play there by Murphy to come down with that ball, apply the tag. There's an error charge to the right fielder Beltran. Well, a single E9. Kinsler is out of the plate, and that'll bring up Victor Martinez. Still a 4-2 ball game.
Why is that an error?
Well, it got away from the third baseman, allowing Cabrera to go to second.
Oh, Cabrera.
5-2 on the putout. So Victor now trying to drive in a run. And Martinez a single and a ground out. He also scored a run. In fact, he got it started back in the second when the Tigers got their 2. Here's the 0-1. Off the plate. One ball, one strike on Martinez. May 18th, the last game that Victor played before going on the disabled list. And has come back for the first time tonight and has chipped in with a single and 2 at-bats. And then he takes outside, 2-1. Brad was asked before the game if they're still going to treat Martinez with kid gloves, and I would assume that they're certainly going to be extra cautious with him. But they feel, and Victor feels right now, that he's healthy enough to go out there day in and day out. The 2-1. Popped him up. Third base side foul ground for Headley. He's under it. 2 away, and that'll leave it up to Cespedes. Double and a fly out for Cespedes, 1 for 2. Yoenis now has 20 doubles. Only Brian Dozier and Michael Brantley have more in the American League. We'll shoot that one foul back out of play.
Brian Dozier having a fine season. You said earlier he had 13 homers as well.
He's having a good year.
It's a lot of extra base hits.
Minnesota winning again tonight, 2-0. Oh, and 1 on Cespedes. Yoenis now has hit safely in 11 of his last 12. We talked about his month of June numbers. They were at 370 coming into this evening's game. And a chance here to drive one in. Ground ball back up the middle of Gregorius. Nice play. Spinning and throwing him out. The shortstop's putting on a show tonight on both ends. Tigers threatened, unable to score, though. They get a couple of hits. They leave 2, and D.D. Gregorius making a fine spinning play. Here in the Bronx, Thursday, June 25th. Mark that day down in your calendars. Coming up, Tigers host the White Sox at 1:08. The first 10,000 fans receive a free Victor Martinez bobblehead. If you'd like tickets, visit Tigers.com or call 866-66-TIGER.
I've already got that date marked down. That's my wife's birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't forget that one.
Man, you better not miss that.
Never.
Just put it in your calendar.
Don't have to these days.
No.
After 30 years.
Here's Mark Teixeira. Then Beltran and Gregorius facing Verlander.
Maybe I'll just get her a bobblehead for her birthday.
Oh, that's taking the cheap way out there, my man. Teixeira's out of there. That, by the way, is a 5-3 ground out with Castellanos making that play. We're in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium tonight. And we're glad you were with us. Mario and Pemba alongside Rod Allen for Game 1 in this series. Mark Isofano is our producer. Brian Moss, our director from the Bronx.
It has turned out to be a very pleasant night. It was very humid this afternoon. A lot of humidity.
Here's a strike call. Carlos Beltran. Yeah, walked out of the hotel today around, 11 a.m. and it was thick out there. Beltran sends a ground ball to first. That's a fair ball, knocked down. Will they get there in time? Verlander does. And there are 2 gone. Game break time. Here's Mickey York. All right, Mick, thanks. And for those of you that did not hear the story about Pablo Sandoval, he was benched for a game because he was messing around with Instagram during a game.
Now, who monitors that?
Well, I don't know, but somebody apparently saw that he liked a photo on Instagram and alerted the Red Sox about it, that he did it during a game.
Yeah, and they sat him down for that next game. John Farrell did.
Gregorius the batter.
That Boston team is going through it, man. They're 10 games under 500, 9 games in back of the Tampa Bay Rays. And rumors are starting to circulate around John Farrell, their manager.
29-39 this year for the Red Sox.
And they made a lot of additions in the offseason. They added Porcello. They added Kung Fu Panda. They added Hanley Ramirez.
Here's the 1-1. Well, I guess in many ways, like the Chicago White Sox, who made a lot of changes as well, it doesn't mean they're going to gel as a unit.
And the San Diego Padres.
Another good example.
You can throw them in the mix, too.
That cost Bud Black his job.
Good changeup thrown by Justin. He's thrown a lot of good off-speed pitches today. He's always had an outstanding curveball. He's always had a really good changeup to go along with the power fastball.
Gregorius had a homer in the second solo shot. He fought that one off. Didi basically grew up in Curacao. A childhood friend of Andrelton Simmons. We talked about him before the broadcast and how he is probably the best defensive shortstop in the game. Didi, born in the Netherlands, grew up in Curacao. Speaks 3 or 4 different languages. Again, the 2-2. Checked it. Did he go? Negative, says Paul Nart.
Big shoes to fill for Gregorius, replacing Derek Jeter, who spent 20 years in a Yankee uniform, headed to the Hall of Fame. One of the most popular players to ever wear the Yankee pinstripes. No way you can live up to the expectations that Jeter had here in New York.
Rolled foul.
We've got an old timers game coming up here on Sunday, I believe.
No, tomorrow.
It's tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
They usually play that thing on Sunday, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too, but they're playing it tomorrow. You know, Reggie's going to be here.
Yeah,
right?
But no Jeter, though. Jeter not showing up yet. Not old timer yet.
He's not really an old timer yet. Although, for as long as he played, he could qualify.
They got about 2,000 people showing up. How are they going to find at bats for everybody?
I don't know if it's really 2,000, but this is a lengthy list, no doubt. There's a 2-out walk for Gregorius. And they'll keep the inning going now for Drew.
Only the first walk of the game by Justin Verlander. A couple of stressful innings. The second where he threw 22 pitches. Also the fifth where he threw 21. Gave up runs in both of those innings.
Cecil Fielder is going to be here.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy's going to be here. Here's Drew with 2 outs. Ball 1 to Drew. Difference in this game remains the home run by Brett Gardner in the 5th inning. It was a 2-run shot off Verlander. Came with 1 out. That made it 4-2, and that's where we are. Strike called, 1-1 the count. Drew has an infield single as Gene Lamont gets on the telephone now. Verlander at 94 pitches, and before the game, Brad said he wouldn't feel bad at all about getting Verlander up over 100 if need be, if he's pitching well enough. A little bit outside, 2-1. They're going to start to stir a little bit in the Tigers' pen. Drew sends one back up the middle into shallow center. It'll drop. Base hit. So a 2-out threat going now for the Yankees. A walk and a single.
Not a horrible pitch by Verlander. It's a changeup that's fading away from Drew. It's a circle change. And right off the end of the bat, a broken bat and a single to center field.
Lefty Tom Gorsolani warming up in the Detroit bullpen. Yankees have just tallied their 8th hit of the game. They have a 2-out threat going now for John Ryan Murphy. He's knocked in 5 this year. Yankees trying to build on a 2-run lead in the 6th. Ball 1. Verlander at one point, he retired 9 straight, then gave up a single to Mason Williams in the 5th. Then followed by the home run. That's in there, a strike called, 1-1.
And Verlander still throwing hard, 98 pitches in. That last fastball, 4-seam variety, 94 miles an hour. Nice, smooth, clean delivery.
Into shallow left field. Cespedes says, "I'll take it." But instead, Ghost calls him off. Nothing doing for the Yanks. No runs, walk, hit, 2 men left. Let's go to the 7th. 6, and you can follow the Tigers all season long in 2015 with MLB.com at bat. Number one app for live baseball is at bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, and believe me, a whole lot more. Get it now for your smartphone or your tablet. Here we go in the 7th inning. First pitch. Roll to the shortstop. Gregorius. One hopping. Safe at first base.
What a play by Gregorius. And he nearly got J.D. Martinez.
He's been putting on a show tonight.
Both of the shortstops have made some flashy plays. Look at the glove work here by Gregorius as that ball takes a little bit of a tricky hop on it. Then he turns and bounces the ball over to Teixeira, but not before Martinez hits the bag with that right foot.
So the Tigers now will bring the tying run to the plate in a 2-run game. It's Nick Castellanos who has a ground out. He's also been hit by a pitch. Tigers have their 7th hit of the ball game. Castellanos looks at a strike. Nick just 191 in the month of June. Fouled away and the count is 0-2. There is activity now in the bullpen. Brandon Pinder, the right-hander, warming up. Nice stop there by Murphy.
Outstanding block. You call for the breaking ball. You need to get down and smother it, and Murphy did just that. Brian McCann is their everyday catcher and their leader. Yeah, but he's getting the night off.
No balls, 2 strikes. Outside. Check the count. Should be 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now we've got it correct. 2-2. Bottom part of the lineup trying to do some damage here for the Tigers after the leadoff infield hit. Castellanos sends a ground ball to third. They'll go to second, 1, relay to first, a double play. 5-4-3. 2 gone.
Here's our 1-800 call. Sam, call of the game. McCann was supposed to play, Brian Holiday was supposed to play last night. Game got rained down in Cincinnati. Brad Osmus still put him in there tonight, and he rewarded his skipper with a base hit his first time up. He has driven in the only 2 runs the Tigers have scored here this evening.
Yeah, I thought that rainout last night was going to cost Holiday a chance to play.
It usually does.
I mean, he gave McCann that night off, but Brian is able to contribute tonight with a 2-run single, and he shoots this one high in the air to right center field. That ball's got something behind it. Is it deep enough? It is not. Young runs it down, and that is that for the Tigers in the 7th. Coming up now, the McLaren Health Plan 7th inning stretch. The Yankees scored first in this game. Alex Rodriguez hit number 3,000, was on the first pitch he saw. He homered to right field to make it 1-0. Then the Tigers came right back in the second. Ryan Holiday knocks in a couple with a base hit to make it 2-1 Detroit.
And then it's Didi Gregorius, the shortstop of the Yankees, who does not hit that many homers, but he connected against Justin Verlander. And then an inning later, another home run off the bat of Brett Gardner. So Verlander now in 44 innings pitched in this particular ballpark is giving up 11 home runs.
Here's our Comerica Bank game summary with a 4-2 score. A-Rod hit number 3,000 on a homer. Verlander has allowed 3 home runs in this game, 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, but he is still out there. He is going out for the bottom of the 7th. This is game 1 in what will be a 3-game weekend series between these two teams. It's the 5th time in the career of Justin Verlander that he's allowed 3 or more home runs in a game. Last time he did it was 2012 in the month of June in Tampa.
Of the 3 homers that Justin has given up here today, how many, in your opinion, are New York Yankee home runs? I mean, Yankee Stadium home runs. You think most of them are left in another ballpark?
Probably all 3 of them were Yankee Stadium home runs, weren't they?
No, you know what I mean. I mean, how many would have been out of other ballparks?
I'm saying none of the 3 might have been out of like Comerica or other
correct.
parks. Yeah, I'm saying they're all home ballpark home runs here.
Yeah.
I mean, A-Rod's was pretty good, but the other 2, yeah.
I guess the flip side of it is the Tigers get to hit 2.
They do indeed. Meanwhile, Chris Young gets his first at bat after taking over defensively for Mason Williams, who was injured earlier in the game. And there's a strike called on Young.
I was talking about Young in the 3 games he's played against the Tigers this year. Well, he was on a mission. .538 batting average. He was 7 for 13 with 1 homer.
It's going to hook, though.
He's got power. Most of his power is to the pull field. And he is now finding some success as a backup player. Earlier in his career in Arizona, he was an everyday center fielder.
Verlander is over to 100 now. Here's pitch number 102. He had him lunging, and he pops it up, but this will get back from the seats. Holiday giving chase. He's been a pretty good extra base machine here for the Yankees since joining them in September of last year. He's had 50 hits, 26 of those have gone for extra base hits. A smidge more than half. Young, Gardner, and Headley in the bottom of the 7th. I guess the other thing to consider, especially here tonight now with the score, is that their closer, Andrew Miller, is on the disabled list.
Well, they got another guy at the back of that bullpen. That's pretty good, though.
Yeah, Betances, I mean, when you put Betances next to Miller, that's really good. Now they're just awfully good.
Yeah, Betances ain't missing a beat.
Young is out of there, 1 gone. Well, Monday, our coverage of the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup continues. Alex Morgan, Abby Wambach, and Megan Rapinoe and Team USA continue their quest for a 3rd title as they take on Colombia. It's a winner-go-home matchup for both teams. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. And catch the whole tournament streaming live on Fox Sports Go. With 1 out, here is Brett Gardner. Drive that one foul out of play. Big night for Gardner. Single homer. The 2-run shot in the 5th broke a 2-2 tie. And he homered in their game last night against Miami. Of course, Zolani's still heating as the pitch count continues to rise for Verlander. 105 right now. Good bunt. Verlander better eat it. Cabrera had to leave the bag to stop it. Bunt single for Gardner, his third hit tonight.
Brett Gardner is a pretty nice offensive player. The last time he was up, he was playing long ball to right center field, 2-run variety. This time, Castellanos playing deep. He lays down a perfect bunt, and Verlander has to field it, and now he has himself 3 hits on the day.
Yankees have 9 as a team. Here's Chase Headley. Oh for 3 in this game. Headley struck out in his last at bat. Verlander in his first start threw 87 pitches. And tonight, right now, he's at 106.
Verlander has already picked Brett Gardner off of first base. That happened back in the very first inning. And Verlander now has 25 career pickoffs. Third most in the majors since Verlander came to the big leagues in 2006 for good.
0-1 on Headley. JV last year made his 7th consecutive opening day start. That stretch came to an end this year. There's a ball high, 1-1. 8 straight years of over 200 innings. And you were mentioning earlier about the workhorse label that is put on Verlander with good reason. Lots of innings, lots of strikeouts.
Got himself into outstanding shape in the offseason. Put on about 25 pounds of muscle. Most of that in his legs. That's where Verlander really gets most of his power from, his legs. He's got huge thighs. Most power pitchers do. Seaver had huge legs. Nolan Ryan had huge legs.
Headley with a rip. The count goes 1-2. Alex Rodriguez waiting on deck. Yanks have a 4-2 lead in the 7th. 1 on and 1 out. Way high. 2-2 the count. Tigers got 2 early runs in this game to go up 2-1. That was back in the 2nd, but Adam Warren has put up zeros from the 3rd through the 7th innings. Right back up of Verlander, who kicks it again, this time into right field. To third base goes Gardner. He is in standing up, and that's the 2nd time tonight that Verlander has made contact with a ground ball up the middle.
Well, Verlander would be out of the inning because that ball was going to be fielded by the shortstop Iglesias, who was right there. It's a ground ball right up the middle, and Verlander's foot got in the way, and it prevented himself from getting an inning-ending double play.
That's going to be it for Justin as Brad Ausmus comes out. Verlander 111 pitches in this, his 2nd start off the disabled list. And then the frustration on his face after that last play. Brad has not made up his mind yet, apparently. No, Verlander says keep me in, so he's going to. And he'll give Justin a chance to pitch out of the 7th.
Yeah, Verlander talks his way in, huh?
Well, apparently so. I wouldn't have expected him to say anything else, of course. This being only his 2nd start, well over 100 pitches. He convinced Ausmus he could finish this inning off.
I don't think Brad wanted to bring Borzolani in anyway to face the right-hander. And there was no right-hander up in the Tigers bullpen, which was ready.
So A-Rod will step in now. He's 1 for 3 after homering in the 1st to pop up on a ground out. We'll see if JV can get that ground ball here. Get him out of this inning. That's in for a strike, 0-1. Thirteen homers now for Alex Rodriguez. 667 in his career.
More than likely, this will be the last hitter that Justin faces tonight.
He's got ahead 0-2.
And Teixeira in the on-deck circle, not as good this year against left-handed pitching. So they will simply turn him around and make him bat right-handed.
Of course, Solani's ready to go. There's Teixeira lurking on deck.
He might as well turn around. Go get the other helmet.
Now the 0-2. Ooh. JV jumping up and down, wanted that call but didn't get it.
Go back in there again. 95 is not the easiest fastball to hit. It's off the plate. Yeah, but go back in there with another fastball.
Low and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Two
2-2 now. Alex has evened up the count. Singles by Gardner and Headley. Outside, Holiday blocks it. Runner going to try and score, and he is safe at home plate.
What a great break by Brett Gardner.
You're not kidding.
Verlander hesitated for just a moment. He anticipates this ball is going to be in the dirt, and he was off as soon as it hit the dirt. It only trickled about 5 feet away from B. Holiday, but Justin, as he was getting there, getting the ball in his glove because he hesitated momentarily, and Gardner able to slide in safely.
Wild pitch scores the run to make it 5-2. Gardner comes in. Headley takes second. 3-run ball game now.
And Gardner tonight trying to beat the Tigers with his legs and with his power.
Well, A-Rod given time as Verlander takes too long. Five runs, 10 hits for the Yankees. 2 runs, 7 hits for the Tigers. Here's the 3-2. Ground ball left side. Castellanos has it. He'll check the runner, and Rodriguez is out. That'll bring Brad out. That's going to be it. Verlander will depart the scene after 117 pitches. A wall side windows pitching change here in the Bronx. Verlander is done for the night, and we'll be back. Come out of the Tigers bullpen.
Gorzelani has struggled this year. The earned run average is at 6.5. He is pitching in his 22nd game. He has pitched 18 total innings and 15 strikeouts, 9 base on balls for Gorzelani, who's trying to put it together and have the kind of season that he had last year, pitching out of the bullpen for the Milwaukee Brewers.
So Teixeira will turn around. He'll bat right-handed against the lefty Gorzelani.
Yeah, his number is a little bit better batting left-handed than they are against southpaws.
0 for 3. He's put the ball on the ground 3 times tonight. And Gorzelani drops in a breaking ball strike, 0-1.
And backdoor breaking ball. And Gorzelani started that pitch off the plate. Teixeira gave up on it, but it caught the outside corner.
Strike called, and it's 0-2.
Gorzelani was one of the first moves that the president and general manager David Dombrowski made in the offseason. And because of these numbers, he was going to be the main left-hander out of the bullpen. But for whatever reason, he's kind of struggled this year.
It's been a big game for Gardner. 2-run homer, infield hit on the bunt single here in the 7th. Got it started. Slice to right field. That's going to get down a base hit and get another run in. Martinez plays it on a couple of hops, and it's a 2-out RBI single for Mark Teixeira. It's a clutch 2-out hit.
Last 10 games, the Yankees right here at Yankee Stadium, they've been averaging 6 runs per contest. And they've got 6 runs again tonight.
Teixeira gets his 49th RBI of the year. And Beltran looks at a ball outside.
There were a lot of question marks coming into this season regarding Alex Rodriguez and how good he would be after basically missing the last 2 years, 1 year to suspension, the other year to injury. And there was a lot of talk about Teixeira as well and how good he would be. I guess both guys have kind of played really well this year.
I would say they've both been somewhat of a surprise.
Yep. Teixeira's battled a lot of injuries the last number of years.
Verlander's numbers are complete now. That run is his, so all 6 are charged to JV. Gave up 3 homers in this ball game tonight, but did keep it manageable for most of the evening until the extended runs here in the 7th. And that's going to put Beltran on. Gorzelani has given up a single and now a walk. Here's Didi Gregorius. Ball 1. 6 runs on 11 hits now for the Yankees. 2 runs, 7 hits for Detroit. Gregorius a home run to tie the game back in the 2nd. It was just his 3rd of the year. Bouncing ball right side. Mickey diving, sprawling play. Throws to 2nd. Nice pick there by Iglesias. However, 2 more runs come in for the Yanks. We go to the 8th. expectations of what a fan can be when it's time come to Comerica. Your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyDetroit.com. See why Chevy drives the Motor City. And by Wallside Windows, we can do that. We are the factory. Back here at Yankee Stadium, we are on our way to the 8th inning now. It is 6-2 in favor of the Yanks. Tigers got to get the bats going here. They're running out of outs. It'll be the number 9 hitter, Jose Iglesias, to lead things off. Meanwhile, it's been a good outing tonight for Adam Warren, who gave up 2 in the second, nothing since, and a strike called on Iglesias.
And for whatever reason, Adam Warren pitches very well in this ballpark. 5 starts this year, really good ERA. He's won 2 and lost 1, and he's only given up 2 earned runs or less in all 5 of his starts here.
Well, he's continued that tonight. 2 runs on 7 hits. Here's the 0-2. Iglesias takes strike 3. He looked at 3 pitches and he's out. 1 gone.
.105 is the most pitches Warren has thrown in a game this year as a starter. And he might go past that here tonight.
Anthony Ghost looks at ball 1. That was the 6th strikeout in this game for Warren, but it was his first since the 3rd inning. Ghost, a couple of ground balls and a base hit. Anthony looks at a strike at the knees. 1-1. That is popped up the right side of the infield for Stephen Drew. 2 gone here in the 8th. And we'll check in now with Trevor Thompson. Trev?
Mario had a chance to talk with Victor Martinez about A-Rod going 3,600 club. He said he's punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame with those numbers. But tomorrow's the 12th anniversary of Miguel Cabrera's first major league game. And I asked Victor to reflect on Miggy's career as a hitter. He said this guy has already punched his ticket, and he's got a lot of hitting left to do. We certainly know that in Detroit. The rest of the world's about to find that out throughout the rest of his career. Back up to you.
All right, Trev, thanks. Yeah, A-Rod joining the 3,000 hit club tonight in the first swing that he took, first pitch that he saw in the first inning.
In just a few years, Miguel Cabrera, he's going to reach that 3,000 hit club as well. And Miggy's never really played in a hitter-friendly ballpark, therefore might not reach some of the home run numbers that some of the guys that are in the Hall of Fame have reached, but his numbers speak for themselves.
Popped up. Heading back to the seats, though, and out of play. No balls, 2 strikes on Ian Kinsler, trying to get it to Cabrera here in the 8th. 6-2 Yankees. Ian had a base hit to start things off in the 6th. But Kinsler tried to score on an overthrow following a base hit by Cabrera, and that short-circuited things in the 6th inning. There's another pop-up, and again it's headed back out of play.
Yeah, Ian was a little over-aggressive on that wild throw from Carlos Beltran, the right fielder. And the third baseman, Chase Headley, got a really friendly bounce right back to him, and that allowed him to throw Ian out at the plate for the first out of that inning.
Brandon Pinder still warming up in their bullpen. Again, the 0-2 off the inside part of the plate.
He tried the front door. Ian Kinsler with that slide piece again. He struck Ian out on that exact same pitch. Ian's first plate appearance tonight.
Got him. Strike 3 called, and that is that for Detroit. 7 strikeouts for Warren. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and it's 6-2 Yanks.
For the second time this year. He did it back on April 22nd and pitched 5 2/3 of 5-hit baseball that day. Gave up 4 runs. He was a little wild that day, but today he's much better. To 110 pitches, a career high, 7 strikeouts, which ties a career high, and did not walk a batter.
Meanwhile, Stephen Drew starts it off in the bottom of the 8th and pops one to shallow center, where Ghost will come in and make the play. Gorzelani gets the first out of the 8th. 6-2. Yankees have the lead here in Game 1 of the series. John Ryan Murphy had a single back in the 2nd. In there, a strike called. Orzelani came on in the 7th inning, gave up the single to Teixeira, which knocked in a run.
As they're losing.
There's a chopper hit left side of the infield. Iglesias, tough play, off balance throw is in time. He got him.
Iglesias has been flashing some serious leather tonight. 2 plays to his left. He came in and made a really nice play on a short hop, and now he backhands one and throws accurately across the diamond to Miguel, who gave him a really nice stretch.
Iggy being Iggy tonight. Terrific play. 2 gone. Here's Chris Young. Struck out in his only at bat. That was back in the 7th. And he drives one to left center field. That's down, a base hit, maybe more. Going to split the gap and go all the way to the wall. And Young is on his way around second, but he'll stop there.
Another extra base hit for Young. You were talking about that the last time that he came up. All the extra base hits he's already gotten as a Yankee.
2-out scoring threat.
He jumped on that 2-seam fastball that stayed up in the strike zone, and he whistled it, and I mean whistled it over the head of Iglesias. And the ball got all the way to the wall.
That'll keep it going for Gardner. The 9th double of the year for the center fielder Young. Big night for Gardner. His biggest hit came in the 5th. Homered in last night's ball game, is homered in tonight's ball game, so he's been on a pretty good stretch here for the Yankees. He looks at a strike.
Well, he pretty much has showed all of his tools here tonight, and the reason why the Yankees gave him a long-term contract. He has shown some power. He showed you his ability to bunt for a base hit down the third baseline. Scored on a wild pitch that only trickled 5 feet away from Brian Holiday. He's had a nice day.
.32 driven in now for Brett Gardner.
Had his best offensive season last year.
Alex Wilson is warming up in the Detroit bullpen. Slice to left field. That's going to get down. Base hit. Cespedes charging. They're going to send the runner home. Cespedes is thrown to the plate. Slide, and he is safe. Another hit for Gardner.
Well, here's our Nissan drive of the game, and it's courtesy of Brett Gardner, who back in the 5th inning got a breaking ball from Verlander with a man aboard, and that was his 2nd hit of the evening. He now has 4 hits. And here's the 4th. He slices the fastball the other way, and Young on second base able to score, even on the very strong throwing arm of Yoenis Cespedes.
7-2 ball game. Here's Chase Headley. That's in the air to shallow center. Should get him out of the inning as Ghost camps under it. And the side retired. However, another run in for the Yanks, and we go to the 9th. Tigers out of their final at bats. Yankees here in game 1 of the series. Wallside windows pitching change, and Brandon Pinder will come on out for the Yankees.
Pinder's already thrown a game down in that bullpen. He's been up since the 6th inning. And he's got good numbers. He's been in 6 games. The earned run average just a shade over 2. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks for Pinder.
So Miguel Cabrera will lead it off here in the 9th inning. Miguel followed by Martinez and then Cespedes.
In 95, Pinder just getting loose. He's got a little bit more than that. They've got some huge arms in their bullpen. Pinder, Betances, Andrew Miller on the disabled list right now, but he's got a big arm too.
Two balls, no strikes. Here's Pinder's 2-0, and Miguel shoots one on the line to right field. It's going to drop. Base hit.
Let's take a look at our bell tire pitch by pitch. Adam Warren kind of shut the Tigers down here this evening. Gave up one early, but that was about it. Strikeouts of Miguel, strikeouts of J.D. Check swings by Iglesias. Had a firm fastball all night. And with some real nice arm side sink to it, about 92 to 94. Lots of good sliders. Second good game he's pitched against Detroit this year.
That is the 8th hit of the game for the Tigers. Leadoff single here in the 9th. Here is Victor Martinez.
And Miguel now has 2 hits in the game. Basically has taken what they have given to him, a couple of singles in the opposite direction.
Pinder missing for ball 1, was just called up today. Sergio Santos placed on the disabled list. Victor in the game has a single and 3 at bats plus a run scored. High pop up. Shallow right center field. 3 Yankees converge. It'll be Young, the center fielder, for the out. 1 away. That'll bring up Cespedes. So the Tigers got 2 runs early in this game, both in the 2nd, but they've not been able to do anything since. Cespedes got a double as part of that 2-run 2nd. He's hit safely in 11 of 12 now. And he looks at a strike, 0-1. Tigers tonight have been out hit 13-8. High fly ball to left. Ball is hit well. Back to the warning track in front of the wall. Caught by Gardner. And Cabrera heads back to first base. 2 gone. Tigers down to their last out. J.D. Martinez will step in. Strikeout, ground out, infield hit for J.D. Pinder at 96 gets ahead 0-1. Boston leading KC tonight 6-1. That's good news. Minnesota, though, leading 7-1 in their game. Oh, 0-2 now on Yoenis Cespedes. So the crowd of 44,588 coming to its feet now, looking for the final strike. Low and away, 1-2. Castellanos hoping to have another shot. Cespedes stays alive, banged it off his foot. Or JD rather. Martinez's hit in the 7th was an infield single, which means he also has hit safely in 11 of his last 12. 1-2 on JD Martinez. Driven to center field. Young is on the move, should do it, and the Yankees take game 1.
Tigers have had a horrible time of winning games in this ballpark. In the last 21 games here, they've only won 6 times.
Tigers are now 1 game over the 500 mark. They dropped to 34-33 as the Yankees win game 1 of the series. 7-2 your final. We'll be back.